How come you let Matt wear his shoes?
You're not supposed to wear shoes?
I didn't.
Sorry, guys.
Hey, guys.
Let's see here.
She hits me with a stick.
With a stick, huh? That sounds, that's pretty intense, bro.
He loves it.
Let's just keep my proclivities out.
Let's see if we can get tuned in here. I think I'm subscribed to myself, so we'll find out. This TV wants to. Hey guys, we'll get started in just a minute. I think we're live streaming right now. Does it look like it?
Yeah, 35 seconds in.
That's great.
Yeah, would like to.
Network here. It's gonna exit YouTube. Hang on, guys. We're trying to get it to where we can see ourselves also. So we haven't really started.
You probably have to sign in through my.
No, it's fine. This is real life.
Yeah.
Things happen in real life, and
Yeah,
then
that's true.
and you're not able to make everything perfect.
Make God laugh and make a plan.
So for some reason that's not gonna. You know what? Maybe we just don't use this. I don't know. Doesn't seem to be. No network detected.
Far.
Yeah, the router's too far.
It might be too.
The router's too far. Okay,
Sorry.
that's fine. That's fine. Okay, guys. Welcome back to the second episode. Today we're going to be covering HR 127. If you haven't read it, I haven't read it in a little while. I've been dealing with some family stuff, but I printed it out so that we're all on the same page, literally. So HR 127 is a bill by Representative Sabika Sheikh. If I'm not, she's from Texas. And today is to talk about it. We also, first of all, I wanted to point out that Shannon made these awesome mugs here. So, well, I was super surprised by these. These are very intense mugs. I like the color pattern also. And then we have John Webb here to talk through this with us. John, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself? He is actually employed.
I do have a job. Yes, I do. I'm fairly apolitical. I am a firm believer in limiting population growth as well as economic growth. You cannot.
As far as what though? Not as far as like Bill Gates, like vaccinations to control population.
Yeah, that'd be a topic for a different day. If I could decide who lives or dies, maybe I'd like it, but I wouldn't want Bill Gates to do it.
Also, the largest farmland owner in the United States now. Did you know that?
I didn't know that, but that's
very strange.
Not a shock, but
he's going to start growing the bug-based food.
Well, whoever owns the farmland's a slave to one of the big 7 food producers, most likely. Anyway.
It's the other way around.
Well, you're not on the show, Shannon. Next time.
Yeah, my big deal is, you cannot have growth at all in a system of finite resources, and that's what the Earth is. It's finite resources, and if you have any population growth, eventually it will be just like a parasite taking over its host, because whether it's 100 years from now or 10,000 years from now, economic growth equates to population growth, which equates to death of the planet as we know it. So
that's true. That is true. That sounded very, very dark. I don't know if we've talked about that before. We've had great conversations before. I didn't know that's where you stood on this, but it's good. We have all kinds of people on this show, right?
Right.
But no, what you actually do.
I'm I'm an environmental engineer. So I've been in the business about 30 years, and I have experience from cleaning up hazardous waste sites to regulating hazardous waste facilities. Most recently, my expertise is in hazardous waste combustion, which is burning
Sounds
the
awesome,
big nasties. Yeah, it's really fun. I enjoy it. I was in the consult world for several years, and then went over to government, which gets a bad rap, but there are some more dedicated and smart people in lower levels of government that are employed by government. I think the higher up you get.
Is that the privatization area? Is that or
no? This is privatization pretty much is dominated by corporate interests that you wind up making a profit. So you have your profit margins just get thinner, like in the regular retail world or any private world. Your profit margins get thinner and your employees suffer. So your stock can increase. So 401ks can grow and people can feel like they're getting richer in that aspect at the expense of the human experience.
But as someone who also works for the government, I would say that the government does a really poor job at dealing with the expense thing. They spend a lot of money on the most expensive things. Whenever you got someone like Elon Musk that can, make rockets,
Yep.
Reusable ones, and NASA, on the other hand, has to spend 10 times more to send a person to the space station or use Russian rockets.
It's definitely bloated, and they're a victim of their own legislation there, because
Right.
nepotism is rampant. And once it starts higher up. If you donate to the politician, your son that can't find a job gets automatically, there's a position created, and little Johnny can get his $50,000 a year created government position because his uncle was elected.
It's funny you mentioned that, because I was actually watching this documentary about Nazis, and they were saying, everything's because of the Jews, blah, blah, blah. We hate the Jews. That's why our economy's suffering. Then what they would do is they would, make legislation against Jews, right? So they fire the Jews from the jobs, and then now all of a sudden they have a job for someone who's not a Jew, right?
Yeah.
It's like, that's kind of like the same thing that they're doing with, what they would like to do with, affirmative action kind of thing, is we're going to hire people who may not be as skilled for the job, whatever, just based on race, ethnicity. It's not happening 100% yet.
There are a lot of different avenues that they can add points to your.
Exactly. And that's for the federal. I just saw a thing actually recently. Hate to talk about federal government, but we actually have to do a equity educational thing now. It's not something that we had to do under Trump. So I don't know if you've seen that yet, or if you have to do that with
Haven't seen
Tennessee.
that yet.
It's probably federal. Yeah, it's coming. But anyway, so back to HR 127. This basically, what I've gathered from it is it's a bill by people who have no idea about anything firearms wise, and it's a bill governing the firearms, right? So Sabika Sheik, if I'm saying her name correctly, she's a Democrat from Texas, 18th district.
That's either Houston.
Yeah, I don't think she's
not many
Houston.
places in Texas that would sponsor this legislation and actually think they could get reelected, which is their entire job.
So what the big idea is, I was talking to one of my buddies about this, and what he's saying is they're introducing this bill initially, right? And based on this bill, every single thing in this bill should not go through. This is complete horseshit.
Right. Ask for everything, and then you can sneak something.
Exactly. So he was saying, what'll happen is this will bounce to the House, and the House will be like, no, this is crazy. So then, it'll go back down, and then they'll rip out half of it, and then they'll bounce it back, and they'll be like, look, we're trying to do a bipartisan bill here. You have to work with us. And then they can take out 95% of this, and it's still
too restrictive.
Oh, yeah, 5%. So just to go through here, it says for the bill is called the Licensing and Registration Act, but it goes far beyond licensing and registration. So
and taxing.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, that's just the beginning of it. So this bill, let's see here. In general, the Attorney General, through the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, shall establish a system for licensing the possession of firearms or ammunition in the United States. Ammunition. And for the registration of, or with the Bureau of each firearm present in the United States. So they're going to be using the ATF, which is what they typically do. Is it's just like the FDA. Instead of actually spending the Congress's time passing bills and doing their job, they created an administration that I was watching a representative from, I want to say he's a senator now from Utah. I guess he's the other senator, not Mitt Romney. But I think if I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong on who he was, but he was saying basically he was going into depth on how these agencies became. So Congress initially is supposed to pass laws. They're the only ones supposed to be able to pass federal legislation. So they created these administrations so that instead of having to spend their time doing each one of these bills, they created an administration that then does policies. And then if the policy works well, then they continue to back up, or then the next year they're supposed to write it into law and then pass it. So that's what the ATF is, the FDA, the IRS,
Department of Homeland Security.
So all these policies that they pass that they use as federal law, they're actually not laws. They're actually just policies. So they're going to allow the ATF again to basically oversee these, which they're already they would like to be more restrictive than they are.
Sure. All of them want more power.
Exactly. So this is going to be, handled through them. Under the firearm registration system, the owner of a firearm shall transmit to the Bureau. This is subsection A, the make, model, series number, or serial number of the firearm, and identify the owner of the firearm, the date the firearm was acquired by the owner, and where the firearm is or will be stored, and a notice specifying the identity of any person to whom and any period of time during which the firearm will be loaned to this person. So basically, you have to have all the documentation for your gun, of course, but then anyone who's around your gun that could possibly possess the gun, or if they were going to borrow it, and this is more, I would assume this is more in line with hunting. I'm sure they would apply it to other things.
Yeah.
But you have to send this documentation to the Bureau Attorney General. And then also notice the deadline for supplying information, transmission required by paragraph 1 shall be made in the case of a firearm acquired before the effective date of this section within 3 months after the effective date of the section. So that's kind of vague. I don't know how long you'd have after you bought a gun to provide this. I'm assuming 3 months. In the case of a firearm acquired on or after the effective date on the date the owner acquires the firearm. Okay, so that answered that question. Yep. So same day. Let's see here in the database. Okay, so basically this bill is going to pass. If this bill passes, it's going to create a national database that is actually searchable to the general public. Okay, so it's not just the ATF. So whenever you register this database, it's going to show who you are, show what guns you have. We'll get to it later in the bill. It applies to the ammunition. So people will basically be able to Google you and see what guns you have, what ammunition you have. And I don't know
when you're away from home and when I can come and take those guns.
Exactly. So it's like either going to be A, if you have guns, we're not going to rob you. Or B, if you have guns, we know we know that you have them. And like you said, we'll just wait till you're on vacation and rob you. Or, in some states, they actually made it to where you cannot shoot an intruder, right? I can't remember.
Castle laws, different states have different things. Right?
Yeah, like you have to wait until they finish robbing you. And it's like if they never threatened you personally, or if they, had a knife or something, you can't shoot them. Mm-hmm. Luckily in Tennessee, we're not like that at all. If someone comes in your house, you can blast them. For now. Not that I would advocate for any blasting of anybody, but if someone comes in my house, that's your castle, right?
I agree.
Castle doctrine, you have that constitutional right.
My castle, people get shot in my castle if they come in unannounced. Yeah, exactly. That's why people will come over to my house. I've got a big backyard too. I've got an auger. Anyway, yeah, I don't have a moat though. I need some alligators maybe.
How does that work with spouses?
Yeah, I'm not for sure that it specifies. But you know what? If we get into Congress, we can since this law is already crazy enough, we could add stuff like that to it. It's like depending on. I'm sure if it was a Republican spouse, they would probably have no problem with easing that caste doctrine for you. So the bill actually says the Attorney General shall make the the contents of the database accessible to all members of the public. So I don't know for specifically, it just says make the contents of the database accessible. So that could be who all would have access to your gun.
You might have to file a FOIA
Yeah.
or something.
Exactly. And that's available to all members of the public, all federal, state, local law enforcement and authorities, all branches of the government, the United States Armed Forces, and state, local governments, defined by the Bureau. And okay, so also too, it's going to make everyone have a license, right, to have a gun. In case people don't know already, to have a concealed carry, you have to have a permit, which certain states honor, certain states, some states don't. Some states are will issue, some states are may issue, depending on if they think that your life's in danger. I think that your life's not in danger until you need a gun, usually.
Well, yeah, and that's one reason I'm kind of against concealed carry, because I don't think I should have to notify. I should have the right to conceal carry without telling the government or whoever that I'm carrying a gun.
Exactly. And that's, back to the Second Amendment, the Congress will make no law, infringing upon, thank you, infringing is the word I was infringing upon your ability to have firearms or maintain a militia, which is something that we, have pretty much forgotten about, the militia part. But people forget the whole point is to have guns is not to hunt or to protect yourself personally. It's to protect yourself against the government, which people say, well, it's the government. Well, what do you need to have? What are they going to do to you? Well, if you look at this bill, it's very funny that they're trying to disarm America. Why would they want to do that? It's certainly not because of deaths. There's way more people die from
falling in the bathtub.
Don't quote me on that statistic, but there's a lot more people die from car accidents at the very least. And they're not trying to ban cars, but anyway, so a license, to acquire a license, this is a license to possess firearms or ammunition. You must be 21 years of age after applying for the license. You have to undergo a background check, which is something that we already have to do that people don't realize. They're like, universal background checks. We already have to do that if you buy a gun, at least in Tennessee, most states. You can go to a gun show and they still have to do a background check. People are like, these gun shows. There's one coming up March 5th through the 6th.
This weekend.
Yeah. I don't know if they'll have any bullets or anything because you can't buy those, but undergoes a psychological evaluation conducted in accordance with paragraph 2. And the evaluation does not indicate that the individual is psychologically unsuited to possess a firearm. Not their business, first of all.
And who makes the decision?
That would be the Attorney General of the ATF. Yeah. So again, no law infringing upon your right to bear arms. Subsection 3 successfully completes a training course certified by the Attorney General in the use, safety, and storage of firearms that includes at least 24 hours of firearm training, and demonstrates on issuance of license that the individual will have in effect an insurance policy issued under subsection D, which they actually don't go very far in depth on that. So you have to have
more money you have to pay.
Yeah, so you have to have the license, and then you have to have the insurance on top of all this other documentation. And then that 24 hours, that's a long training class, 24 hours. I mean, the normal handgun training is like 5 hours, something like that for concealed carry.
They're effectively trying
2
to
days.
tax citizens out of affordability.
Yeah, it's just like raising property taxes. Eventually people can't afford to own. So let's see here. Section B, antique firearm display license. So they're going after like muskets and stuff as well. If the holder of a license issued under these are the qualifications to have a antique firearm in a residence of the individual.
In the residence
in your house.
Individual. If you have a musket, you can't put it over your fireplace.
Or a blunderbuss.
Yes. Excellent. Nice word choice.
But so people will understand those kind of firearms, those are black powder firearms that you have to load, and you put the powder in and wad your projectile, and then put the some water.
War era.
Yeah, that's expensive. We're talking about ammunition expensive now, but I mean, I guess technically whenever they outlaw bullets, then you could use those firearms and just put like knives and forks or whatever.
Right.
Just
You put a charge with those BBs in there.
Yeah. So that's for antiques. Same. Let's see. You have to have the proof that you own the firearm. Describe the manner in which the firearm will be displayed in accordance with regulations prescribed by the Attorney General and certifies that the firearm will be so displayed. So it has to be in the right place at the right time in your house. Blah 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 blah. Okay, this is the really good one. Subsection C is military style weapons license. Okay, so to have a blunderbuss or musket, you don't have to have the license, but you still would have to. It doesn't specifically say that you'd have to have the license. It just says you have to apply for the license. So I'm assuming that means that you have to have the license. So military style weapons license, the Attorney General shall issue to an individual a license to own and possess a military style weapon if the individual, if the holder of a license issued under subparagraph A, which is what we just went over, the 21 years old, background check, psychological evaluation, 24 hours of training.
I'm sure they have it, but the definition of a military style weapon, pass this law, then change the definition of a military weapon to be.
Oh no, they go into it. They go into it. Yeah. This is a great bill. It's very comical, but the problem is this is something that politicians are not talking about. This is not like they're more worried about. Like I'm super pro life. I mean, I think if you do the crime, you should pay the time, kind of thing. Like, they're just being ignorant doesn't constitute your right to just, have abortions left and right. But that's not if we lose our guns, then we don't have the ability to stop anyone from taking what rights that we have. So after applying for this license, you successfully complete the training course. Blah, 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 blah. Psychological evaluation, just as before. And this is to be completed by a licensed psychologist approved by the Attorney General. I don't know.
The current.
Of ATF. I think it's the
attorney. That's who Biden has picked as Attorney General.
I think this is Attorney General of the ATF, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
I might be wrong. The Attorney General. No, you're right. Sorry. So it's just the Attorney General. Yeah. So Merrick Garland. I've heard mixed reviews on her. Not super familiar. I haven't had time to really look into her, but him. Sorry. It sounds like a gender neutral name. Merrick Garland. No, it's not. Okay. Well, so the psychologist is approved by the Attorney General as deemed necessary by the licensed psychologist involved. The evaluation included a psychological evaluation of other members of the household in which the individual resides. So not just you, but whoever who lives in your house. As part of the psychological evaluation, the psychologist interviewed any spouse of the individual, any former spouse of the individual, and at least two other persons who are a member of the family or an associate of the individual to further determine the state of mental, emotional, and relational stability of the individual in relation to the firearm. So, if you guys, if you said something to her she doesn't like, she can be like, no, he's shit crazy.
There's a case coming up. Right, or that's been heard in the Supreme Court.
You're talking about where the police came into their house,
and
yeah. So basically, I can't remember Strom. I think it's Strom versus State. Basically, what happened in that case is this guy he was taken to the hospital. I don't know what exactly his situation was, but then the police came back to his house. Have you heard about this? Mm-hmm. The police came back to his house, and his wife was there, and they were saying, he's having some psychological issues. He said that it's okay that we remove firearms from the house. First of all, that was a lie. He never said that, right? And then second of all,
police lied.
Yeah, I know.
Illegal search.
Yeah, it was a legal search. Especially based on the fact that he didn't say that. So they came into his house and took everything based on his potential threat to the community, and that's a very slippery slope. I know a lot of people are like, well, that's just that one case. That's what kills me is whenever you talk about these kind of things with people, and I'm like, hey, we're on our way to China, and they're like, nah, it'll never happen. I'm like, well, that's not true. They take your weapons, Now, if you go to any other country, if you go to England, for example, any laws that they make in England, there's no
Potential recourse.
Yeah, there's no recourse. It's like you can go protest in the streets with your sticks, but
A lot of knife violence.
yeah, a lot of knife violence. People get stabbed all the time, and honestly, getting shot is a lot quicker than getting stabbed. And it's like, man, it's a lot more personal to get stabbed too, right? You can see the whites of their eyes.
So that it's Caniglia versus Strong that's coming up March 24th.
Yeah.
Being heard by the Supreme Court. So we'll have to keep our eye on
that. Yeah, that's going to be something that that's going to set a lot of precedent.
Yeah.
Something that's unprecedented. I've heard that so much lately. It's unprecedented. I was like, oh, come on, people. Use other words. Anyway, unheard of. Yeah, it's never happened before. Maybe this is crazy. Yeah. So blah 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 blah. Where are we at? General license.
Psychology.
Yeah. Okay, so everyone in your house gets evaluated basically. So the denial of license, as required by the Attorney General, shall deny such a license to an individual if the individual is prohibited by federal law from possessing a firearm, which is such things as being a felon, having already mental issues. If you say that whenever you apply for a license, you have to say that you have no addiction, kind of thing. If the individual has been hospitalized with mental disturbances, blah, 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 it's kind of what we talked about. Also, if you have brain disease, including dementia or Alzheimer's, that's a new one. So you're going to be taking old farmers' guns away that, can't remember exactly that Biden was elected anyway. And I'm probably going to tell you that Trump's the president, right? So good luck with that.
Yeah.
That's going to be where the shootouts happen. Again, hypothetical. We're not advocating for anything like that. Authorized denial. The Attorney General may deny such a license to an individual if the psychological evaluation referred to in paragraph 2 indicates that the individual has a chronic mental illness, or brain disease, which is a slippery slope, is addicted to a controlled substance within the meaning of Controlled Substance Act or alcohol, has attempted to commit suicide, or prior psychological treatment or evaluation of the individual indicated that the individual engaged in conduct that poses a danger to self or others. Okay, that's a slippery slope again. Who's dangerous? Yeah, who's dangerous?
Right.
Well, what they were talking about, I guess it was on CNN. I didn't see it for myself, but they were talking about drone strikes to get rid of Republicans, right? They're like, we use it in Afghanistan, against our enemies, so why can't we use it here? These people actually believe that. They think they think legit that Trump is Mussolini. And they think that all Republicans are fascists, which is hilarious. We're, if you ask Republicans, we're just wanting to maintain our rights at least. And the rights, people get it confused. Conservatives get a rap as like we're all super traditional. There's a difference between traditional and conservative. Conservative is conserving your rights in the Constitution. All other things have to fall within that sandbox. If you don't conserve the Constitution, then this isn't America anymore. You can't have the prosperous nation and the freedom that we have if you don't conserve, not progress outside of the lines. It's like if you have a coloring book, you don't color outside the lines for a reason, because then it all looks shitty, right? And people don't want to look at your coloring anymore. Suspension of license in general, blah, 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 blah. They can authorize for lack of firearm insurance. The Attorney General may suspend a license issued under the subsection to an individual who has violated subsection 9 or violated section 922 DD in the most recent 12-month period. So if you have had a lapse of insurance in the past 12 months, they can take your license away. Got that. Expiration of license issued to an individual under this subsection shall expire in the case of the license that has been in effect for less than 5 years, 1 year after issuance or renewal. It may be revoked, or in the case the license has been in effect for at least 5 years, 3 years after the most. Doesn't make any sense. Renewal of license request for the renewal must be by the end of 60-day period that begins request the renewal. By
How long does the license
so
last?
it's 3 years.
So you have to renew it every 3 years.
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question about the expirational license?
Yeah.
If your license lapses,
Based on what I'm seeing here, it's saying that if it lapses within, what are we saying?
Down on B.
number 6.
6B. Yeah.
Yeah, 6B.
What it was saying, so on 7 is talking about the renewal by the end of the 60-day period that begins with the day of the license expires. So I guess you have 60 days after your license expires to renew. That's what I'm getting from that. Is that what you guys are understand?
Yeah.
Okay. So in the renewal, you have to do a training course certified by the Attorney General in the use, safety, and storage of firearms. That includes at least 8 hours of training, which is more along the lines of what you have to do now for your initial license. You don't have to do any recertification.
That's every 3 years.
Yeah. Blah, 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 blah. This is a bunch of just filler stuff here.
Then you get to the definition.
Yeah, that's the good stuff. Where's that? The military style weapons defined. This is what's really crazy. The other stuff is kind of crazy too, and none of that should be instituted either, because a lot of that, like the background checks, is already in effect. So they specifically term military style weapons in by name. They just name these actual weapons. So Norinco, Mitchell, and Poly Technologies, Kalashnikovs, all models. Then subsection 2, Action Arms, Israeli Military Industries, Uzi and Galil, Beretta AR-70, Colt AR-15. So AR-15, the quintessential hunting rifle. Blah, 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 blah. These other ones, M10, M11, M9, M12, the AUG, Tech 9, Tech 22, revolving cylinder shotgun, like the Striker 12, semi-automatic rifle that has the ability to accept a detachable magazine and has at least 2 of. Okay, so this is the best part of the bill. So they're saying anything that it has at least 2, it bumps at least 2 of these categories. So they will be considered military style weapons, and then it will be subject to all these other laws that we'll get to in a second.
Munition.
Yeah. So a folding or telescoping stock. So I brought some of my guns that these are completely legal. We'll just go ahead and check here. Totally empty. So first of all, we'll have a folding or telescoping stock. So this is a basic stock, right? It's adjustable. Yeah, it telescopes for sure. So this is the basic stock that you get for an AR-15. Okay, so this is, first of all, we've got one bump there. A pistol grip that protrudes conspicuously beneath the action of the weapon. So this is the pistol grip.
And that is the action of the weapon.
Yes, and the action of the weapon is here. So this has already met 2 of the 2 of the 4. Yeah.
5.
So a bayonet mount. First of all, most bayonets are illegal.
Isn't that a bayonet mount?
No. Oh, you could. Yeah, you could. You could mount it anywhere. Yeah, you've got the Picatinny rail, so you could technically mount that anywhere. But any bayonets, as far as I'm aware, or I could be wrong, are illegal. But yeah, it's like it's like carrying a huge weapon around. You're not going to be able to use it very often. Flash suppressor or threaded barrel designed to accommodate a flash suppressor. So every AR, every assault, well, we don't say assault, every hunting rifle has typically a threaded barrel on it. So this can be removed. This is a flash suppressor, and then you can put a silencer on that or any kind of other.
So yeah, we could differentiate that a flash suppressor is not a silencer.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So in a silencer, people think of it as like in the movies, like choo, and it doesn't work like that. It just makes it to where you can shoot without hearing protection. Yeah, so you still hear it however far away, but if you're like indoors or something, it's the best thing. If you're just basically suppresses a lot of the flash, the muzzle flash. But that's most hunting rifles have that. A grenade launcher. That I would agree with. Okay, so subsection 5 says a grenade launcher, and that's totally reasonable. Okay, but if we want to get technical with it, if we're based on the Second Amendment, we should be able to have those too. But I can agree with that. Next, section C, a semi-automatic pistol that has the ability to accept a detachable magazine and has at least 2 of ammunition magazine that attaches to the pistol outside of the pistol grip. Okay. Got another AR here. This is technically a pistol because it doesn't have a shoulder mount. It's got a blade that it's got a strap, or you can put a strap here to attach to your forearm. So this is considered a pistol by the ATF. This is also empty. So this magazine is 30 rounds. So this magazine is meeting your first pistol subsection here.
Doesn't come out of the grip.
Right. A threaded barrel capable of accepting a barrel extender flash suppressor also comes standard on AR-15s. Forward hand grip or silencer. Okay, we don't have that. A shroud that is attached to or partially completely encircles the barrel that permits the shooter to hold the firearm with the non-trigger hand without being burned, which is the this is the hand guard. Okay, so this whole piece right here is removable, but what they're saying is you cannot have any of that. Okay, because you can have a hand grip like this. They're saying that any of that is illegal. So all you can have is up to here, because the barrel, of course, is going to be hot when you're shooting it. So, I mean, technically, you're supposed to shoot a pistol. But just bring those out here just to show that those are legal right now. And the ATF likes to play around with those terms to make guns possibly illegal. Like, you're not allowed to have stock on a pistol because then you can shoulder it, right? It's all semantics. A manufactured weight of 50 ounces or more when the pistol is unloaded. So that's more than 50 ounces, both of those guns. Most big pistols are bordering on that also. That's about what, 3.5 pounds, 4 pounds?
Yeah.
What do you think that one was?
Well, that's more, the pistol is a big pistol, right, according to ATF, but I think my handgun is like 4 or 5 pounds, something like that. But that's a bigger pistol. They're basically saying it's okay to have.
Like a Magnum, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Made out of different materials.
Exactly. Yeah, some of them are polymer. So that I would imagine that a lot of things will start going more to all
Dirty
polymer.
Harry couldn't carry his pistol.
Yeah, definitely not. Not with that 357.
Oh, what? You talking about 3D?
Well, no, there'll be a lot of 3D printed guns, but the 357 Magnum from Dirty Harry, I mean, it's got a
44.
Or 44, sorry.
Extended barrel. So
Yeah.
good old movie.
Yeah, he's not. I mean, that's one of those ones you have to shoot with 2 hands too, because that barrel. But it's really accurate. Yeah.
You feel lucky.
not under these laws, you don't. He wouldn't be. He wouldn't be using.
Lucky. Well, I feel pretty lucky because
You're going to jail for that gun, big boy. So let's see here. Semi-automatic version of an automatic firearm. So that's basically any gun could be construed as that. Like the AR-15 is a version of the M4, basically. Let's see here. Next, we're going to talk about shotguns. A folding or telescoping stock. Well, they're outlining semi-automatic shotguns there. A pistol grip that protrudes conspicuously beneath the action of the weapon. We've already seen that. A fixed magazine capacity in excess of 5 rounds. Basic shotgun has 5 or more rounds. An ability to accept a detachable magazine. They have plenty of shotguns that are AR style. Which, honestly, the shotgun stuff is, people are hunting typically with shotguns also. Let's see here. Establishment. Within 1 year after the date of the enactment of this act, the Attorney General shall prescribe final regulations to implement the amendments made by the subsection. Prohibitions, blah, blah, blah. So this starts talking about the ammunition. It shall be unlawful for a person to possess a firearm or ammunition unless the person carrying a valid license The firearm is owned by the person. The firearm is registered to the person.
Or if you have it, if I borrow yours and you have it licensed and have a license and I don't, then you, as the owner, have to notify what the
Attorney
entity
General
that you have lent it to me
Yeah, and for how I don't know if it's gone into that yet.
during the loan period specified. So,
Yeah. So I have to specify how long, where you're going to take it, when it's going to be back, and how you're going to be storing it. Honestly, because that goes back to the first group of section.
You have to be licensed.
So this is for anybody who borrows your gun or anyone who borrows your ammunition. And it's unlawful for any person to transfer a firearm or ammunition to a person who is not licensed under the section. So if he doesn't have a license, for right now, I can buy and sell any firearm to anybody in the United States, granted that they're citizens.
So, yeah, certain.
Right, and you're not a felon or any of the other reasons why you wouldn't be able to have a gun in the first place. But that's American. That's how it's been forever. If it's between private citizens, I can buy and sell it to you. Now, if I want to send it, if you live in Michigan, I want to send you a gun, I still have to go through FFL, send it to somebody. But as far as right now, we're just being buddies. I can be like, hey, here's some ammo for your gun, whatever you buy and sell. And see, this is saying that it's unlawful unless the person has been, or unless the Attorney General has been notified of the gift or sale. Can't be under 18 years of age, which honestly, that's stupid anyway, because you have to be 21, right? I've already said that. The penalties are pretty ridiculous for these. Whoever knowingly violates Section 922A, which is just the 922A is. Well, it doesn't really matter because all this bill is complete BS. If you want to go back and look at it, I'll put you the link up there. Anyone who violates the bill shall be fined not less than $75,000 and not more than $150,000, imprisoned not less than 15 years and not more than 25 years, or both. That is ridiculous. I mean, not less than $75,000. Do you have $75,000 just on hand? You might, but I don't. $75,000. I mean, that's life-changing money. You don't get fined that much for what? Well, definitely not drunk driving. I mean, robbery, murder. They're not. Yeah, you're gonna get. Do you get a fine for murder, or is it just jail time?
Probably some civil penalty. Ask OJ.
Yeah. Well, he's broke now, isn't he? Broke-ish.
That's right.
But then not more than $150,000. It doesn't say that on first or second penalty. I think it goes further on the second. Let's see here. Whoever knowingly violates Section 922B, fine not less than $50,000, no more than $75,000. Basically, all these fines, if you violate 922 subsection BB3, that's only $5,000, not more than $10,000. But basically, this is life-changing money.
Significant money for a majority of America nowadays.
Yeah,
I mean, might not be in the future when
the inflation goes up like everything.
The value of the Federal Reserve note. But that's another topic.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is, if people want to speak about this, if they just ignore it, then this gets passed under some kind of COVID spending bill. Like, that's the problem too. I don't know. I've been out for like about 2 weeks with family stuff, but whenever I get back into it, I'm going to be digging into this, and I haven't got to take a look at the COVID bill. Have you guys like that?
No, I haven't.
A very small percentage of it is aid to American workers.
Well, it's $1,400, right? They got that in there.
Yeah, I think they had.
There's like a
spending cutoff.
Pelosi. There's millions to a Pelosi subway system.
Well, that makes sense. because we need a subway system whenever people
Combine a lot of
Yeah.
people that are vaccinated.
Yeah, exactly.
Homeless people need somewhere to live.
Well, where are people traveling if they don't have jobs? I don't, and everyone's working online too. I don't understand.
I do.
Well, I think what you hit there, Matt, is the bill is just throw it up against the wall. It's not going to get passed, but see what sticks. See what they think has the potential. But that's as lax as our system is. Gun manufacturers, they swing a big hammer. NRA swings a big hammer. So
they went bankrupt in what is it, 2 months ago? The NRA went bankrupt in New York, and the corporation they moved to Texas.
I don't know, but I do know that they still swing a big hammer.
Yeah, and they really don't. They don't do a whole lot of, based on what I was saying, they don't do a whole lot of fighting for people's actual gun rights. They do like a whole lot more for like manufacturers and stuff like that.
Who's got the money?
Yeah,
if they don't have the money, you can't buy a gun.
Right. And what's funny is I think we already skipped over. I might have just missed it, but the license is $800.
Yeah.
And that's every 3 years. That's also price prohibitive for a lot of people. $800 every 3 years.
If you have a gun just for that, you keep it bedside holster.
Yeah,
just because you live in a big city.
Exactly.
You're going to
This is
get
going to be
per.
There's some sort of legislation like per gun per.
It probably had, again, we have to go back through it. I'm assuming that I think the insurance probably increases per gun.
Yeah.
I think the license is not.
I think the license is for all firearms.
But that's going to be for rich people. $800. I mean, that's something they're
$800 every 3 years, plus your insurance.
Yeah.
Plus the.
Yeah. Plus also the training that you have to do.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's just a lot of trouble. It's like, unless you hunt all the time, it's not something that's going to be like, well, I guess I'll just not get a gun, It's like, we'll get, and then they'll probably do some kind of government buyback.
And what does this kind of thing do, like in, say, low income areas where you've got like a single mom living alone, she can't even afford to protect herself.
Right. And, this one thing this is not going to impact is felons who are in gangs that are.
Even get them now.
Yeah, exactly.
They have them.
Yeah. They're not supposed to be able to have them. Do they care that they're going to be, that they'll be committing felonies? Like, add it to the list,
Well, that's when we go into smart guns, the topic of smart guns at some point.
Are they talking about like Judge Dredd?
That's something the Biden administration has talked about, is introducing smart gun technology where you can't even shoot it. If like your fingerprints don't match up, goes into
sounds like a lot
3D printing, the control of 3D printing, where you can't get the QR codes. I mean,
that's going to be the next thing. It'll be 3D print. Because I mean, there's all you have to do. You still have to buy the like the barrel and stuff, but you can make it on your own. But I mean,
they're attempting to make it to where you won't be able to
like download it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, smart guns, smartphones, smart cars, and what we need is smart people.
There's plenty of smart people. They just a lot of them tend to not. Well, if their life is good, they don't they don't want to mess with things, and that's what people like in Congress are doing right now. It's like, what do they have to worry about? Why would they have to protect themselves against anything? They have security.
And rich people, I mean, it's economic, the whole separation of whether it's race or nationality or culture or whatever. It's all economic. And if you're of lower economic status, you don't have time between working, raising kids, and doing necessary things to stay alive to follow up on the legislation that they force feed down your throat.
Exactly.
And so it's not necessarily that people are dumb. It's that they may be uneducated or oblivious to the facts simply because you don't have time to look at this stuff that we have or to think about it. You're letting others do the thinking for you.
Well, they're making plenty of money to do it,
oh, yeah.
And that is the problem. That I don't know if I talked about on the last show, but before COVID, I think the COVID thing kind of backfired in a lot of ways because people had time to sit at home and they're like, oh wait, yeah, research things like CNN doesn't. Well, it's like, okay, they keep harping on this. So I'm just gonna go and Google some stuff, and it's like, oh, well, Trump gave a 90-minute speech. And they just keep showing this 5-second clip or like 3-second clip over and over. Look how bad he is. And I'm like, well, that was very out of context to me. And it's like, I know you guys are intelligent. Maybe I feel like the anchors themselves actually don't even know the whole clip. They're just like, they got fed this and they're like, yeah, he's terrible.
Doing what they're supposed to do.
$15 million a year to say whatever their owners want them to say.
Exactly. And that's, but again, I think a lot of people have woken up and they're like doing their own research and they're like, yeah, I don't have enough time to spend looking at this. I've got kids or whatever, but
that's what the show's about.
Yeah. So people once they find out, they're like, well, shit, if they take my guns, then what? Then they can do it. They literally can do whatever they want. That is, I mean, if you look at Maoism, that is the quintessential thing that they're talking about. He's like, whoever has the guns has the power.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, all empires, like U.S. empire, every empire, none of them last.
Right.
And it's all a cycle, Bad times make for strong men.
Yeah.
Strong men make for good times. Good times make for weak men. Weak men make for bad times.
That's
so
absolutely
it's a cyclical thing.
Yeah.
And we've had good times, and it's breeding weakness and, not informed populace, but that's not unusual. Even
right.
Mark Twain, right? If you read the paper, you're misinformed. If you don't, you're uninformed. So
that's exactly right. And the great thing now is, at least for now, is that most of this stuff is not. I mean, if you do your own diligence, you can find a lot of the true information, even with the censoring that's going on. I don't know. This video might get censored because I brought the guns out, but they're unloaded, and I wasn't threatening anybody. It's purely educational.
3D printed.
Yeah, and 3D printed. They could be plastic for all they know, but still, yet in Hollywood, they can have as many guns and stuff as as they want. Keanu Reeves. Apparently, Keanu Reeves and Halle Berry are like two of the best gunslingers in real life.
Really?
Yeah, because they get thousands of hours of training, and here we can't afford a bullet because a bullet's $1 plus per round. That's like carrying around gold, But that's pretty much it on the guns. But I mean, I thought it was funny. One of the representatives, I can't remember her name, she was talking about. No, I don't know if it's the same one. The thing is, the older black lady. Is that the same one? Is this one's Sabika Sheik though? I think the other one is she might be supporting it or sponsoring it.
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
She introduced this bill
initially, or
on January 4th to the House of Representatives. Now, Sabika.
Okay, I got you. So she introduced it, and then it's got
she's the sponsor.
Sabika. Okay, yeah, she's the older lady, and she was talking about them having 50 caliber AR-15s. 50 caliber AR-15s. No one has a 50 caliber AR-15 unless they just wanted to make a meme of her and just made one, because that's ridiculous. No one's gonna be shooting that, at least, not from a standing position.
It would be fun to shoot.
No, it wouldn't be fun to shoot at all. And also, too, I don't know that you could afford to shoot that. I mean, it's like $10, $15 a bullet. But they were talking about this bill. Skipped over it. It talks about banning 50 caliber ammunition. But yeah, so let's see. Large capacity ammunition feeding devices. So nothing over 10 rounds. And nothing capable of operating over a 22 caliber rimfire ammunition. So basically any gun other than a 22 in the forms that they are now be totally illegal. But so, I mean, how do you feel about that? I know you're super Second Amendment, but you're not like a gun crazy dude.
I don't have a lot of guns. I have friends that have guns. I do have some guns, and they're unregistered. And,
right.
I don't think it's
as is your right.
Exactly. And I don't think it's the government's. I don't think they have the right to require things like this. But it's just.
It's based on the Constitution. That's a very conservative idea.
Yeah, exactly. Then I wonder if they have constitutional toilet paper, because it certainly seems like some of our representatives and senators use the Constitution for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's,
I mean, if right is free speech, if it's the free speech that I want, but
well, yeah, that's the problem with free speech is you have to be okay with being offended also.
no,
It's like as much freedom as you give people to speak, you have to be willing to be offended that much. It's not freedom to be free of offended or free from being offended of anything. It's freedom to say exactly what you want. As long as you're not threatening someone. You can't threaten people. That's a threat, you know?
right.
But yeah. Okay. So anyway, guys, thanks for checking in. Thanks for John for stopping by. Maybe we'll have him on the show again.
Yeah, thanks,
More. This is kind of like last minute put together. Hopefully next time we'll.
Well, I think we should give them a teaser as to why it's last minute, since the COVID thing is, it's been so prevalent, and Matt's been hit personally with it in the past week, which is, it's taxing. Matt's an RN. He's very knowledgeable in a lot of aspects, and he got hit where he had to care for, immediate family members that had COVID. So
Yeah. So I'll just start with my grandma. She had a brain aneurysm. It was like 2 or 3 months ago, and initially the doctors at UT in Knoxville, they said that they wouldn't do anything that was too complex for him. So I finally convinced my grandma to go to Vanderbilt. So she went to Vanderbilt, and 2 weeks later they scheduled her for operation. They put the coiling in. So for people who don't know, an aneurysm, it's like a little bubble in the vessel wall. If that ruptures, then you're dead. So they go in through your wrist or your groin, put in a really tiny little piece of metal, and they coil it up in there. And then they cut the piece of metal, and then eventually that clots off, and then it just is done.
reforms.
Yeah. So she survived that. She's a very intense lady. 82 years old, still drove and got outside and did manual labor. Anyway, 2 weeks after that happened, or it might have been a month, she went back for a checkup at Vanderbilt. So she goes to Vanderbilt, she comes back home, and about 2 days later, she starts getting sick, like flu-like symptoms. And I had already had COVID, so I didn't have any respiratory issues. So I assumed that she wouldn't either. So she started having a lot of GI upset and was basically just achy, GI problems. So she was like that for about a week and a half and not having any respiratory issues or anything. I talked to her on the phone. I think it was Wednesday, 2 weeks ago, and she sounded fine. She just didn't feel good. Later that night, they called EMS, picked her up, and actually her O2 was like 76 or 75 or something. So she had been a smoker a long time ago, so her body had been accustomed to hypoxia. So if it was you or I, we would not be able to breathe, where we would be unconscious, or Shannon, we'd be unconscious. And just a testament of how intense she is. So they took her to the hospital for COVID. Whenever she got there, she was on typical oxygen, like I think she was like 6 liters or something. That night, they also increased her to what's called high flow. So high flow is this thing that goes onto your nose. It has bigger, thicker tubing. It goes to a machine that allows it to pump. I don't know what the max is, but she was getting 30 liters per minute as opposed to the max you can get on the nasal cannula is 6. She really didn't like that, right? They gave her convalescent plasma. They gave her remdesivir, which is what you hear about on the news all the time. She rapidly became worse. They tried to increase her flow on her oxygen. She was like, you know what? My husband died a couple years ago. I'm ready to go. And me and my family were like, well, all right, he just got here. Let's at least try some of this stuff. So we fought with her. We got her some meds to help her relax. And which, again, she's freaking intense, man. The meds that she was getting, like, we wouldn't have been breathing. So anyway, she fought the whole time. We eventually got her to put a BiPAP on, and the nurses and staff were great in, trying to get her to allow us to do this, because we didn't restrain her, right? Because she was completely alert and oriented. She might have been a little lethargic from the drugs, completely alert and oriented. She knew where she was at. She knew what was going on, and she said she was ready to go see her husband. So anyway, on Saturday, I think it was Saturday. It was Saturday or Friday. I had been staying with her all day. I went home to get something to eat, and my mom was there, and I have her been doing breathing exercises, taking all these vitamins and stuff because she had flu-like symptoms. She ended up, I checked her pulse ox and she couldn't keep her oxygen above 90. So I was like, all right, well, you know what?
This is mom.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was like, all right, mom, well, get some of your stuff. We'll go to the hospital. So whenever she got to the hospital, it was like her oxygen, she was in like the mid 80s. And they actually had to put her on some just nasal cannula oxygen. And that's kind of what happens with the COVID thing. I think we were talking about it before we started filming, is like, that's what happens is they have very mild symptoms, and then gradually every day it just becomes more and more intense. And that's the problem, is you never know how far it's going to go. So some people get put on ventilators, and if you get put on a ventilator, a lot of people survive that, but not without long-term effects, because the ventilator is pushing against that inflammation, right? And a lot of people think, ventilators are the answer. That's what Trump was getting so much flack about. Now we have ventilators coming out of our ears, right? And you don't want to be put on a ventilator, because that means that, the inflammation has gotten so bad that they are having to force so much air into your lungs. The tissue in your lungs is very soft, and it's got these little cilia, that increase surface area that allow oxygen to be absorbed. If you're pushing that, with so much pressure, it's going to flatten those and damage those and cause scar tissue. So that was initially everyone was like, ventilators. So anyway, long story short, on Monday, my grandma, she had been on BiPAP for a couple of days, and she's still, every time she starts to come to, she's like, why, why I don't want to do this. So we got my mom and my aunt there. They were really nice. They let us do that, and we were just telling her, like, we're gonna make you really comfortable, and then we're gonna take you off of this. So we took her off the BiPAP, gave her some extra meds, and about 30 minutes later, she was gone. And this is someone who's super vibrant, like she drank a double shot of Wild Turkey and 7-Up. She loved to go to Label over here and she loved their sweet potato fries. She would get a big, huge bottle of their icing. I mean, again, she's still driving, still getting out there and doing it. She wanted to go to the beach. She loved the beach, very sharp mentally lady. And anyway, so my mom is still, what's this, Sunday now. So my mom has been at the hospital for a week now, and she's still on high flow, and they've been giving her the remdesivir and the convalescent plasma. But on Wednesday, I still wasn't for sure if she was going to make it, because she had to gradually increase her oxygen, and thankfully after Wednesday, she doesn't remember this, but I was taking care of her all night, and she became very demanding. I have never seen her that needy before, but, can't get up and go to the bathroom on her own, that kind of thing, which, I just go into nurse mode and then I handle it. But it's funny that she doesn't remember it. But now her oxygen demand is about level. So she's still getting these medicines, steroids, those kind of things, but she hasn't really gotten any better, but she's able to, move around a whole lot better and stuff like that. Yeah, leveled off. And so that's what you're looking for with the COVID thing. But sometimes also people do level off like that, and then it just gets worse. You've heard people getting sent back home, and and then they
head back.
or die or whatever, because there's a lot of problems they cause with clotting and that kind of thing. So they put you on blood thinners. But so the problem is that all this, according to research, I posted a little video last week. There's so many prophylactic measures that they can use, like the hydroxychloroquine, which is research supported. Ivermectin, I remember this from like back in February of last year, people talking about it. But the data already exists for this, maybe not exactly for COVID-19, but for SARS-CoV, which is a disease that already existed. And the party of science will tell you that this doesn't work, blah, 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 blah. Still yet the evidence remains that it does. And and doctors are scared to prescribe it for the boards of medicine, saying, oh, you're using this off label. You could be risking someone dying of heart attacks. It's like, yeah, it's complete garbage. And of course they want you to get these vaccines, which I'm not saying the vaccines don't work. I'm just saying that you can prevent these things from happening, all these people don't have to die. So yeah, that's where we're at with her right now. But again, I squarely blame the CDC and the FDA for refusing to allow the true prophylaxis to be out there. They should already have been giving these people these medicines.
It's a crime
for
against
weeks.
humanity.
Yeah, it is.
It needs to be called out.
Yeah, it is, and people are scared to say that because they're getting doxxed on media. So maybe I don't know that maybe this video will get taken down. They didn't take the last one down, but apparently my volume was messed up. So I've heard that at least a couple times. But we'll see how it goes. But yeah, it's totally not. It's not mismanagement on like people will say it's Trump's fault. It's not. This is squarely on the shoulders of people who either hate Trump and they just want to go against everything Trump, or they just want you to, because this is billions of dollars. People don't understand. It's like, hundreds of billions of dollars for these vaccines to be developed. And, we don't have any real data on them yet, but we have data on these other medications prophylactically. Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, I'm sure we'll talk about that in the next video. We're supposed to do this on Saturday. I just was not feeling good yesterday. What happened was, to be completely honest, is I've been on the carnivore diet, right? And I've been feeling great. And then yesterday I was just feeling kind of down. So I ate a bunch of like Quest bars and stuff. So I actually slept all day yesterday and I could not wake up.
Good.
To be completely honest. So it tore me up having carbs. So as far as like my mental clarity. So today I've eaten like four sirloins. So I'm feeling pretty good. But that's what was going on. So hopefully next Saturday, we haven't determined a topic yet. Not Saturday, yeah. So the next Saturday after next. Unless, people start going to our website, start donating a lot of money, and then we can, yeah, hopefully, fingers crossed, keep praying about it. So, and all the prayers for my mom would be appreciated. And for all the other people that are sick, her friend actually got hospitalized. Also, she's across the hall from her.
And maybe grandma's prayers were answered because she had a great life. And
she had a great life.
Quickly as we would all want to get out of this world without hanging on. And
absolutely. She still looked good. Yeah, she looked good. So, and she's cremated somewhere. So I'm going to take her to Hawaii, and then we'll do some of their ashes there, because that's where she wanted to go to Hawaii. So
don't shoot them out of a gun.
Yeah, right. Well, also we drop her in a volcano because she's pretty fiery.
So Hawaii right now, we ready to say goodbye?
Yeah, I mean, whenever, unless you wanted to add something. I know Hawaii's like the most strict state.
On lockdown right now, pretty hard. I have family there.
Yeah, well, we'll get there eventually. They won't stay locked down forever. But
thanks for having me.
Yeah,
Matt.
absolutely,
I appreciate it, and hopefully we'll wake up as a society and be able to see some of the things that you're addressing in your podcast and make people more aware.
Hopefully, we'll see. It's a struggle right now.
There's never not a reason to fight.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and people, want to be, it's easier to be ignorant, and that's not a good excuse. Just ask the founding fathers, peasants and everybody, they didn't have anything to fight for. We're fighting, for their freedom. So, that's the fight we're having today. So again, thanks Shannon for the mugs. Go to Mattforcongress.vote. We're going to be in February. We'll register officially for Tennessee's first congressional district against Diana Harshberger, who again, she might be a really nice person, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Good deal.